Hello friends, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new here. I am Martina Lily, and today we are ranking all of the eyeshadow palettes that I have tried so far for the year of 2024. So I usually do this every 3 months, like once a quarter, and we're pretty much at the end of March. So it's time to do it. I have 16 palettes in total to rank. I know, that's crazy. It's only been 3 months. Hopefully this sounds interesting. If it does, go ahead and do the YouTubey things. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and let's get started. If you have caught these before, all of the palettes will be linked in the description box down below. They are affiliate links, so if you shop through them, thank you so much. I will let you know as I go along which ones I got in PR and which ones I bought with my own money. And if I have swatches, screenshots of swatches of each of these palettes, I will insert them after each of the rankings as well. I think I do for all of them except for maybe like 2, so should be good. Anyway, at number 16, a palette that you have not seen on my channel, but I have played with it off camera, and it's an old one. I don't even know if you can really get this at all anymore, but I thought I would include it because I did pick it up and I have played with it this year, is the Chantecaille Cougar Eye Quartet. So this was a limited edition release from them. It has like the cougar on the front quite some time ago, and I actually picked this up for about $40, maybe even less Australian, in the Mecca Cosmetica Boxing Day sale. And I'd never tried a Chantecaille eyeshadow before, and this was actually the quad that you guys had recommended I try if there was any I do try. So when I saw it for like less than half price, I just picked it up to give the formula a go. This one is ranking last just purely because it's a nice one. Like, it is a nice quad. The formula is really lovely, but it's just, I don't know, it wasn't like super duper wowing to me. I think it actually surprisingly has more to do with the color story than it does necessarily the actual formulas, because the formulas are quite nice. Like, had I bought this full price, I definitely would have been a little bit disappointed because it's an expensive quad. Full price, I think it's over $100. Could be wrong, maybe slightly less. And yes, I buy Tom Ford and Chanel, but honestly, I find the Tom Ford and Chanel and the Clé de Peau quad formulas really impeccable. Truly, I do. Whereas like if I had spent the same amount of money on this one, I would have been disappointed. So I'm not disappointed and I have no regrets because I got it on sale, so heavily discounted. But it also just like isn't my kind of favorite go-to quad in my, or palette in my collection. Number 15, I got in PR. So this is one of the new Odens Eye releases. This is Odens Eye Spring Dragon Palette Cross Duty, and like no offense to the collaborators of this collection at all. Like, it's got nothing to do with that. I'm purely judging this based off of the palette itself, and that's it. And I can't remember if I said this or not, but just in case, I did get this in PR, and this is the one right here. I do have a video where I did a look using all 3 of the palettes in this release, and I did do like all of the swatches and everything. So if you want to check that out, I'll try my hardest to remember to link it down below if you want to see like in-depth swatches and stuff. This wasn't the normal Odens Eye like super duper incredible mind-blowing quality that you know and love. It's good, it's not bad at all. It's just that all of the Odens Eye eyeshadow palettes that I have tried up until this point have, hand on heart, like really impressed me, really blown me away, to the point where I'm like, these are insanely good. Like, more people need to get on these. This one is very pretty, it's good quality, but it just didn't have that formula and like color story that just blew me away like the other Odens Eye palettes, unfortunately. And so out of the 3 as well, even though I do like this color story, it's also just my kind of least favorite, and there's a couple of shades in here that I was just not that impressed with. So again, no like shade to the creator at all that is in that collaboration, purely just basing this off the eyeshadow palette. Number 14 is another one in the Odens Eye new release. So this one is the Mighty Monster palette with a net. And this one is a bit better quality than the Judy one in my opinion. But again, like even this, it's so dense and flaky and heavy and like chunky, kind of, not chunky glittery, but glittery, which is very much a personal preference thing. I don't mind the mattes, like they're okay. Like again, like this shade is very pretty. There's some really pretty shades in here. To be fair, I wouldn't have actually purchased this with my own money, just because this is too colorful for me. It's not a color story that I would have got a lot of wear out of, like same with the Judy palette. It's not like I'm basing this very much off of the fact that I got it in PR and basing it off like the quality and stuff from that. And I think if I had purchased this with my own money, I would have been a little bit disappointed. Again, just comparing it to the other Odens eye palettes in my collection. This formula, there's a couple like this one, and this one, beautiful, but there's just a couple of formulas in here that I personally didn't love as much as I normally love. And I also have found, like with all three of the palettes in this collection, they're almost like not repeat shades, but there's a lot of similar colors in all of the other Odens eye palettes as well. So I didn't feel like they were a must have unless you really wanted to support one of the creators. And so that leads me to number 13, which is the Earthwood palette in that collection. This one was my favorite out of all three for sure. And there's some really nice individual shades in here, like this one and this one and this one that I absolutely love. And I love that this has like, you know, your kind of neutralish shades as well. So this is definitely my favorite formula-wise, color story-wise out of the three. I think this is beautiful. But again, probably just not attention grabbing enough or wowing enough for me to think of it in my collection. Like I will declutter these. I'll keep them, you know, for a bit just because of my channel and stuff, but I can see myself decluttering these. They're just not like the Stone and Rock palette and the Jewels and Gem palette from Odens eye and their Christmas palettes. They really wowed me, but these ones not so much. Oh, I'm sorry. Number 12, kind of a curated eyeshadow palette, but I'm going to lump it in here. This is the little eyeshadow palette that I created myself with Hourglass single shadows. So I purchased this little like 3-pan tin and then purchased the single eyeshadows and, you know, picked them, blah, blah, blah. You can check out my full face of Hourglass cosmetics if you want to see my in-depth thoughts on this eyeshadow palette. I'm going to call it a palette, okay? This isn't bad. And like, so my pros with this little palette, the packaging, like the pans on here are like hefty, like sturdy, metally gold. Like the packaging of this, A++, gorgeous, really unique, absolutely love it. And don't get me wrong, the shades, like especially the metallics, very pretty. Very, very pretty, very high quality, lovely. The matte is a good quality matte, but it's not the best quality matte I've ever tried. I definitely have to work a little bit harder than I would like to blend this out. Where this falls down for me is even though it's like a lovely little palette, it was expensive. Like these three shadows cost more than a Tom Ford quad. Like these are just crazy expensive. So each of these shadows were 45 Australian dollars each. 45 Australian dollars each. And then the little pan thing was like 25 Australian dollars. So by the time you add all of that up, incredibly expensive. Now I picked it up for science sake for my full face of Hourglass cosmetics. I used my YouTube budget money for it, that kind of a thing. So I'm okay with it because I knew what I was getting myself into. However, if I had purchased this with my own money, thinking this was like, you know, so expensive that surely that formula is going to blow me away, I really would have been disappointed just because you could absolutely get, you know, a Natasha Denona midi palette for like $90-ish Australian, and the quality's even better. Yeah, I just think the price, I think, and I don't know why, I don't know the ins and outs of it. I'm not a product like creator. I don't know anything behind the scenes, right? So I'm guessing there's a reason, but I do just feel like Hourglass priced themselves a little bit out of the market with their price point of these. If these were like $25 a shadow, granted, and that's Australian dollars, sorry, granted that's still very, very expensive, but I feel like they might get a lot more traction with these, but hey, maybe, what do I know? Like they've still got them around. Maybe they are big sellers for them, but yeah, for that price point, it definitely wasn't worth it for me. Number 11. I don't know if this is a controversial take a little bit, but it is the new Chanel Rivage Spring Quad. So again, I have a full review of this quad on my channel. And to be honest, this one ranks actually so high because of this shadow right here. This is like the most perfect, beautiful one and done. I love a Chanel quad, do not get me wrong. I've got a couple, you'll see one later on in my ranking. Like I really do like the formula. Now, they're a specific type of makeup preference formula, if that makes sense. Like they are not your Wham Bam formula. They're not a Pat McGrath Labs formula. They are a soft, beginner friendly, everyday, more subtle, mature lid friendly formula. So going into a, say, Chanel quad is a very different mindset for me than going into like a Natasha Denona midi palette or a Pat McGrath Labs Mothership. Okay, so they're not even really in the same realm for me. So I don't compare them in that aspect because they're not the same product. They're not trying to do the same thing, right? Even though they're both eyeshadows. However, I will say, like, I've got 3 Chanel quads all together. This one definitely disappointed me the most. It just wasn't as, I mean, this shade, yes, but these ones just were not as impressive as my other 2 that I have. The other 2 formulas that I've got are like, wow, these are incredible, incredible. And this one just left me a bit, Like, it was beautiful, do not get me wrong, it is beautiful. I think probably for me, I'll actually end up giving this to my mum just because she is going to absolutely die over this blue shade, even though I just want it for this shade. But I just think my mum, for example, is definitely someone who will get a lot of use out of this. But yeah, just my expectation level from the other Chanel quads that I've tried was quite up here, and this one just fell a bit short for me, which I find quite funny because this is like, I think in the US, it's not in Australia, like you can definitely still get it all over in Australia, but like in the US, like you guys said that this like completely sold out instantly, and it kind of surprised me just because, I don't know, it wasn't as impressive to me as others from them. Number 10 is one that I don't think you've seen on my channel yet. I did have it in a video, but that I think I'm just gonna put that video on my members channel. If my members is live, by the way, I will have the info linked in the description box. But this is one I got in PR. This is the Fluorescence eyeshadow palette. I don't know what the name is, sorry, it's written in Chinese. And it is this neutral color story. It's a newer one from them, but not their brand newest. And yes, this looks incredibly boring because it's just like 50 shades of brown. I love this though. The Fluorescence eyeshadow formula is impeccable. It is so lovely. They're like these kind of baked powders. I don't know how to describe them. They're a very unique formula in my mind, and I really enjoy them. And I actually love this palette because for me, this is like a whole palette of basically like brown one and dones. I love it. And then I've got like a couple of little metallics in here if I want to throw them on. Very mature lid friendly, very beginner friendly. Like they blend themselves on the eyes. They wear really well. And it's ranking a little bit further down just because it is quite a monotone color story, if you will. However, if these are your colors, if this is your jam, I recommend it. Like it is incredibly good quality and it's absolutely beautiful. Number 9 is the new Glaminatrix Cosmetics Pretty in Pastels palette, and honestly the only reason why this ranks down at number 9 is because this is such a colorful palette. I just don't use these kind of colors every single day. Quality wise though, wow. Quality wise, this is hands down the best pastel palette I have ever tried. These mattes in these pastel shades, I have a 3 looks 1 palette with this one, and I also did like full in-depth swatches and everything, but these mattes are amazing. If you are a colorful makeup wearer or a pastel makeup lover, get yourself this palette because the way that these show up on the eyes without even like a white base, they're incredible. They're highly pigmented, easy to blend, they're gorgeous, they wear really well, and obviously like we know that the Glaminatrix Metallics formula is second to none. Like these are absolutely beautiful and stunning. So if this kind of color story is your jam, and like if I was a colorful makeup wearer, like if that was like my everyday aesthetic, this would be like number 1 because the quality is 10 out of 10. But it's just that based on color story, it's got to go down a little bit. Number 9 is one of the new minis from Natasha Denona, the mini My Dream palette. Again, I have a review of this on my channel with in-depth swatches. This is gorgeous, quality's great, blends beautifully, metallics are lovely. Like honestly, it's an absolutely beautiful little mini, great for travel. If you are someone that just wants a tiny little palette, this is your go-to color story. Don't really need much else in your collection. 100% go for it, you will not be disappointed. The reason why it's ranking lower for me, even though it is such a great quality and a beautiful color story, like definitely my aesthetic, is just because I do have the I Need a Nude palette and the My Dream midi palette, and I kind of already just have these. You know, this is a bit repetitive for me. If I was to isolate this for like say travel makeup only, then it would rank a lot higher because it's great for that. Like it's perfect for, or if you're someone that wants like that smaller eyeshadow palette. But I would reach personally for like my I Need a Nude palette over this one, just because it has these shades but also more. But great quality. Did I call this one number 9? I think it's number 8. Anyway. Number 7, kind of a eyeshadow palette, kind of a face palette. This is the new Natasha Denona Hyper Natural face palette, or eyeshadow and face palette, I guess. So you have your bronzers and your blushes here, and then your eyeshadows down the bottom. Again, full review on the channel with in-depth swatches. This has got really mixed reviews and feelings about it, which I actually thought a lot of people, apart from the fact that the biggest con of this, why is there not more palettes with different shade ranges? Like, do not call this, yes, if you're going to use this as an eyeshadow palette straight up, like just an eyeshadow palette, sure, this will probably suit all skin tones, but you can't call this like a bronzer and a blush and then say this is all for all skin tones, because it's not. It's just not. Putting that aside, because it does bother me, this has really caused some like stir. Some people are really all for it, others are just like absolutely not. It's not your typical Natasha Denona formula. Natasha Denona's normal eyeshadow formula really is a lot more pigmented, a bit more intense. Like, it's called Hyper Natural, so you know that should be your clue that it is a lot softer of a formula. It's also a completely new formula. She doesn't have any other formulas like this in her collection. These are kind of like a cream shadow verging on powder. Like, they're not super, super creamy, but they're also not powder. And they're not a cream to powder either. And it's a weird kind of texture. I personally really enjoy them. I really do. I find they're absolutely gorgeous on the eyes, very natural looking, very easy to use, like one and dones, or you know, just as like lid toppers, that kind of a thing. I really do like them. I can see how they're not for everyone though, and if you have really oily lids or really creased like hooded lids, for example, you'll find that these will crease, because I do find some of these do, like if I don't set them with like a powder metallic over the top, they will crease throughout the day. The other thing that I have found is the longevity of these is really not there. I guess that kind of makes sense a little bit, in the sense it's called Hyper Natural. Maybe it's not supposed to. I wore these to work one day, and by the end of the day my eyeshadow was kind of like gone, and I don't ever have that with a Natasha Denona palette. So yeah, the longevity isn't as much there. So yeah, I like it, I enjoy it. It has its place and time in my collection. I also, even though these are not catered to all skin tones, I really like the formula of these. I would love for Natasha to bring out like bronzers and sculptors and blushes in like a full shade spectrum, like individual kind of compacts of this formula. It's impeccable, like flawless. But yeah, so I can see how it would be for some, not for others. I quite enjoy having it in my collection. It brings a little bit of diversity because I don't have anything like it. But you know, I think it's a personal preference thing. Number 6 is the new Dior Backstage palette. This one is really pretty. Again, I do have a review of this one on my channel as well. This one for me, I love the formula. I think it's gorgeous, but the tones are just not something that I would reach for every single day. However, I will say if you are someone that just loves a really soft, easy one and done shadow, this is like a palette full of one and dones basically. It really is. It's very easy to use, very blendable. Think more of like your luxury designer kind of eyeshadow formula, where it's a little bit softer, not as impactful, but not all the way to like a Chanel formula, if you will. It's kind of like in the middle between, say, like your Natasha Denona formula and your Chanel formula. Very soft, very easy to use. And if this is your kind of go-to color story, then I say go for it. Like, the quality is absolutely stunning. But for me, it doesn't quite hit all the boxes to like fully get it to the number 1 spot. Number 5 is my first Guerlain quad, and my husband actually got this for me as a present, and this one is Imperial Moon. So again, I know that this one isn't brand new, but it's new to me, and I have a get ready with me. I'll just link all the videos I've used these palettes down below, shall I? You know, easier than just continuously saying it. Anyway, this is freaking gorgeous. This formula is stunning. I absolutely love it. It's like this kind of baked, it's like the wet dry formula actually a little bit from Tom Ford. However, this one right here is like a more of an intense, like suspended glitter type shade. So what I really enjoy about this one is these are great as like one and dones. And then you have the black here to like deepen the look up if you want, or use it as a liner, that kind of a thing. And then you have this one that you can like pick up dry on your finger and just like, or a brush and like tap on the lids, and it's like this beautiful fairy dusting that adds this dimension. Or you can like wet your brush or put down like some glitter glue, and it's like intense and glittery and stunning. So I love this so much. I think the Guerlain formula is incredible, and I think the reason why these don't get as much hype as they should is I just think the color stories, they're hit and miss. I personally find with like Guerlain, they're not like the kind of color stories that you want to gravitate towards, at least for me. This is the only color story from them that I've ever wanted to try, but in terms of formula, one of the best luxury eyeshadow formulas I have ever tried. Number 4 is a palette that I did get in PR, and this is a Flower Nose palette from their new Little Angels collection. This one is the Weeping Angel. Again, review down below. This is amazing. Now, I will say, apart from the 2 bottom mattes, these 4 mattes right here, they could go. Like, to be honest, they can leave the equation. For me, they're like nothing. I won't use them. They're too colorful. I can just create looks with just these 2 on their own. That's fine. Personal preference. However, these 3 shadows are insane. These are like Pat McGrath Labs special shades. And in my review, I use them. And like, look at that. Look at the intensity, the shine, the metallicness. They're special. They're honestly Pat McGrath Lab special shades, truly. They are incredible, absolutely incredible. And for the cost of this, like, and the packaging, like, look at the packaging alone. It is absolutely mesmerizing. This totally shocked me. I really did not expect these to be good at all when I got them in PR, but holy dooly, they've blown me away. Like, these 3 shades are worth it alone for me personally. Just incredible. Number 3 is a Lethal Cosmetics eyeshadow palette. And I think this is like one of their first, no, it's not. Disregard. They've had like the 1UP palette and everything, but this is the Metamorphosis palette. I think it doesn't actually have the name on there. There you go. This isn't like brand new. It did come out later last year, but I only picked it up this year. And I've got a 3 Looks 1 palette on my channel. Love it. This is such good quality. These mattes are so buttery. They are so buttery. Like, just even when I was swatching this, I was like, oh, this is gonna be good. Because they're almost like a suede cream formula. They blend themselves, they're impeccable, absolutely stunning. And all of these metallics are gorgeous. Like, it doesn't let you down. It's like that, you know, Lethal Cosmetics formula that you know and love. I absolutely love and adore this. I want like more palettes in different color stories with this formula, from matte to metallic, truly, because they are freaking good. Number 2, this one shocked me, truly. I didn't think these palettes would rank so high. This is the other Flower Nose palette in their Little Angel collection. It's the Eden's Angel palette. Oh, I mean, look at the color story. It's very me. But again, it's just, this color story from top to bottom is pure perfection for me. It's kind of something that I would like go to on the everyday. These 3 shadows right here in this particular palette are not as intense as the other palette, which I personally quite like, but they are still absolutely flawless and impeccable. They look so good on the lids. You can use them like dry and just tap them on a little bit for like a fairy dusting, or again, wet your brush or like use a glitter glue to really build them up intensely. They're stunning. I believe I actually have a short on my YouTube channel where I've done a look with this. The mattes blend flawlessly, truly. They're absolutely gorgeous. Both of the Flower Nose palettes, sorry, they blew me away with the quality of them, truly. Like, I am very picky with my eyeshadows, and yeah, like, to the point I'm really excited to see what this brand does next, because wow. And I would love like a palette just of the metallic formulas alone, like, so good. And also, again, packaging A+. I am wondering who can guess number 1, but number 1 is actually a Chanel quad. This is the Eclat de Nuit, if I have pronounced that correctly, quad. Again, I do have a review on my channel. I love this. I love this so much. Perfect one and done shade. Like, you've got 2 kind of lid shades, and like this one is more of a satin. This one's more intense, so you can like really build it up to be quite impactful. Are you going to focus? There we go. And then you have the black to deepen up the look or use as a liner or something. It's just a gorgeous, cool tone color story. Cool tones are my jam. I know we're probably gonna see a lot more warm tones come back in, but I do love a cool tone. And the quality of this for me is everything. I absolutely love it. I have been loving a softer eyeshadow vibe lately, and this just ticks all the boxes. It's like one of those quads that I'm like, if I'm in a rush and I just need something to look really good, I can quickly grab it, throw it on. I know it's gonna look impeccable, and I just love it. I just love it so much. I think this is such a good quad, and I think it's limited edition, so if you are thinking of picking it up, like, I highly recommend. But like, yeah, I do think it is limited edition, so keep that in mind. Okay, that is all 16 palettes ranked. What do you guys think? Is it kind of in the order that you maybe thought? I'd be interested to know. Let me know in the comments if you kind of guessed roughly how it would all pan out. I've tried some really good palettes so far this year. I'm interested to see how the next 3 months go and what kind of comes out and comes into the collection, but I'm happy with everything so far. I am trying to be a little bit more picky with my eyeshadow palettes this year just because I have so many. You can only use so much eyeshadow, but I also intensely love eyeshadow, so you know, it's a push and pull for me. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down below, and if you have any of these and what you rank them. What's your number one eyeshadow palette that you've been trying so far this year? Doesn't have to be new. What's just your favorite? All right, if you've made it this far, you know you're an absolute legend. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate you, and I hope you have the most amazing day wherever you are in the world, and I will see you next time. Bye.